Throughout Doom's release in the mid-90s, there were a few handful of console ports. Some were pretty good, some were terrible, and one of them was brilliant. Today we will be taking a look at possibly one of my favourite ways to play classic Doom from now on. It's time to talk about the PlayStation version of Doom. There's a lot to cover, so let's start from the beginning. Many developers had a go at trying to match the experience of Doom's frantic action to the consoles in the mid-90s. There were some attempts, like on the Super Nintendo. As impressive as it may have sounded to get Doom up and running on the SNES using the Super FX chip, unfortunately this port could only do so much. This port had to have severe compromises to get the game playable. For example, the resolution was scaled back, and some of the textures were reduced to a singular colour, and it suffered from the most choppiest performance out of the bunch of the ports that came out at the time, second to the Sega Saturn. The Sega 32X did have the edge on the other hand. Some of its elements were better compared to the SNES port, but there was one major drawback: the music sounded terrible. Like an orchestra of laxatives, just pure diarrhea. The one that got hit the hardest due to time constraints and severe mistakes by unprofessionalism was none other than Doom on the 3DO. The CEO hyped up this port as the ultimate way to play Doom, including new levels, weapons and enemies. Rebecca Heinemann only had 10 weeks to develop the port, and didn't even have the source code to begin with. This proved very troublesome for Heinemann. She did all she could to get the game playable. The soundtrack was quite good however, a good rendition of the classic soundtrack we all know and love. The Atari Jaguar was one of the ports that some of these consoles used because of the fact that this port was made by id Software themselves. Definitely a good port, but it was lacking music unfortunately, which was okay if you had a CD of Slayer kicking around. Which brings us to one of my personal favourite console ports ever released, which is Psx Doom by Midway. This port wasn't like any of the others that came before. This had 28 maps from Ultimate Doom including Knife Flesh Consumed, 23 from Doom 2, and 7 original levels that were exclusive to the PlayStation port. Let's get one thing clear, this was using the Jaguar port, but Midway took what worked and put their own spin on things. Of course, some parts of the maps are missing compared to the PC version, but most of the levels still feature the same experience that is pretty much on par compared to PC. So what made this port so special? Well, it all came down to the tone and the atmosphere. Psx Doom hit a different, yet sinister note. It would have been foolish to replace the original soundtrack with something different entirely, but Aubrey Hodges, the composer of the soundtrack, took Doom's horror influence and took it to new heights. The MIDI rock and metal tunes from the original replaced with something much more ominous, isolating, terrifying. This change in the music made the overall experience significantly more spooky. With the change in music came the change in the sound effects themselves. Weapons, doors, monsters, the lot was changed, and it fit the tone of the game perfectly. What followed was only natural: lighting. The game's brightness was dimmed, and also to make way for my personal favourite part of the game, sector-coloured lighting. No longer constrained by simple darkness, greens, blues, reds and yellows can be seen all throughout the maps, which only enhance the dark and moody atmosphere even more. And who could forget that epic blazing fire skybox? My favourite Doom skybox as far as I'm concerned. All of these things packed into one experience that can be enjoyed on the PlayStation back in 1995, this was hands down the best Doom experience you could get on consoles. And now, let's take a quick look at Psx Doom Ce. Right from the start, you can see the atmosphere of the port has been left intact, but there are some additional enhancements that take that to a whole different level. Dynamic lighting, monster bright maps that glow in the dark, and so much more. You can also toggle other options such as a flashlight, smooth weapons, enhanced particle effects, smooth decorations, etc. All of this takes a port that I love so much, and it makes it hands down my favourite classic Doom experience I've ever had. And I'm not done yet. If you have a VR headset that is compatible with Steamvr, you can download a VR version of GZ Doom and dive into what is, in my opinion, the most immersive FPS experience I've ever played. This is coming from someone who's played Half-Life Alyx, and because of my love for Doom, I simply cannot help but stand in awe as I'm fully immersed into the spookiest version of the classic Doom experience yet. So, if you own a copy of Doom 2 and want to give Psx Doom Ce a try, I highly recommend you do. The link will be in the description. And that wraps up the story of the best Doom console port in my opinion. If you have enjoyed this video, please be sure to like and comment as YouTube can promote this to other people to enjoy. And please be sure to subscribe, hit the bell to be notified on when I upload another video. Thank you all so much for your support. This has been Coffee Rampage, and I'll see you next time. Take care.